Right lads, I'm your host of Man and His Kebab, and unlike everybody's favourite Ohioan Scott the was, I was a big Call of Duty fanboy as a kid. You know, one of them people you'd see online arguing over what's better, Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 2. I still do that. But see, I was born in the same year that the country of Serbia was, meaning I was a bit young playing the golden era of Call of Duty. So by the time I got to my teenage years, I was presented with the futuristic era of Call of Duty, an era best remembered for trains going boom, pressing F to pay respects, and saying good day to fleshy mammals. Oh, and advanced movement, loot boxes, and Kevin Spacey. Oh, and okay, yes, it was known for a lot of things, but most importantly, the controversy and division in the Call of Duty fanbase between those who saw this as a fresh move forward for the series, and others who proclaimed it to be the death of Call of Duty. The latter party were technically right, just a bit early, but it does raise the question of whether or not this era was actually as bad as people remember, or do these games actually hold up today with the power of hindsight? Now when I say COD's futuristic era, I'm referring to these three games. Ghosts doesn't really qualify as it's more similar to these games than these three. It's just not a very good game, so people don't want to associate it with the golden era, even though its gameplay is very similar to those. It's basically the inbred stepbrother of the golden era. The same can also be said for these games. World War II obviously isn't futuristic because it's set in World War II, and Black Ops 4, even though it's a futuristic game, plays like no other Call of Duty, hence why everybody hated it. Except me. Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare are the trifecta we'll be analysing today. And with all that background detail out of the way, let's delve into the first. Advanced Warfare was released on November 14th, 2014 on 8th and 7th gen consoles, except the Wii of course, because if they got this game to run on that thing, I honestly think they should have gotten the Nobel Prize. This was the first Call of Duty game I'd consider to be for the 8th generation of consoles. Ghosts was of course a launch title for the PS4 and Xbox One, but it always felt like that game was being developed for the 7th gen and then was quickly ported onto the newer generation of consoles. Advanced Warfare actually felt like I utilised the console's hardware it was on, and of course this was done by the team down at Sledgehammer, everyone's third favourite COD developer, actually possibly even fourth if you throw Raven into the mix. The campaign of course is set in the year 2060 and follows Jack Mitchell, a former US Marine who after the death of his best friend Will Irons and loss of his arm, goes to work for Will's father's company, the Atlas Corporation, a private military corporation led by, hey, isn't that? All jokes aside, Kevin Spacey's portrayal of Jonathan Irons is quite remarkable, fully representing a sociopathic, power-hungry trillionaire dead set on securing world domination. A far cry from his real-life antics of. The campaign is very good, the plot's solid and gives us a unique war scenario beyond just East versus West. The characters are, a tad hit and miss, but okay for the most part, and the gameplay is okay, although it does feel overly simplistic and has a lot of quick time events. It does drag on a bit however, and a lot of the missions are quite forgettable, but it's definitely worth a play. The game's multiplayer is a tad more mixed in my opinion. It's definitely unique. So yeah, the whole exosuit jump boost thing is very gimmicky here. It doesn't add a huge amount to the gameplay besides adding a cheap way to jump foes, with the downside of making yourself an easier target. Other aspects of movement are okay, I personally like the slide, and if you master this and the dodge, you can really become a force to be reckoned with, but a lot of people don't really seem to bother, and most gunfights are on the ground. The maps are subpar in my opinion. The guns are quite interesting though. It's clear the developers took the new setting and used it to create weapons that aren't just as souped up. Never mind, but on this front, I approve. Wait, didn't this game introduce? Ah yes, of course, loot boxes, which gave you OP variants of guns that you had more of a chance of getting if you paid real life money for more loot boxes. Hello, monetization. Other aspects of the customization system include the Pick 13 system. You already know my stance on this, but now score streaks are included as part of the 13. Why? Well, it's not a huge deal because funnily enough, this game has the title of having the worst score streaks in the series. So multiplayer and movement system that doesn't work that well, subpar maps, and lacks things that make Call of Duty, yeah, not good. That's not to say I haven't had fun playing this game's multiplayer. Yeah, never mind, who am I kidding, I didn't really enjoy this game. Exo Survival and Exo Zombies, two modes I don't really have any love for either. Exo Survival is like Modern Warfare 3 Survival, but worse in every department. Only 4 maps compared to Modern Warfare 3's 16, less variety in gameplay, and overall just a simple wave survival mode. Exo Zombies was a bit more in depth, and in all honesty, I did like the plot, but there is a reason no one ever talks about this mode. So overall, not a great start for disproving the title of this video. Black Ops 3 was released on November 6th of 2015, alongside the greatest COD trailer of all time that I can't play because of copyright. And from the start, the hype for this game was real. See, although yes, this game was released during a period of turmoil for Call of Duty, it was still a sequel to one of the greatest shooters ever released, and although it was futuristic, many in the community still had hope for this game being good. Well, that was until they played this game's campaign. I'm gonna be honest, I've played this campaign 4 times over, including on Nightmare difficulty, which is hell, and I still could not summarize this plot for you. You play as the player, who I think is also Taylor. Then there's this whole DNI thing, and an AI, and Nova 6. Essentially, it's incredibly complicated and has little to do with the previous 2 games. The gameplay is okay, the levels are pretty cool, especially these ones in a neural space, or whatever this thing is called, but I definitely steer clear of this campaign unless you want a headache and possibly an existential crisis. Now, the multiplayer here is much better. Definitely a divisive one, but this was one of the last Call of Duty games I saw a large amount of people pour massive amounts of time into, the other being Modern Warfare 2019. Was it perfect? God no. The maps do take advantage of the movement system, but are very hit and miss, and forgettable besides a select few. Supply drops return with exclusive weapons, although the balance here is a lot better, but specialists are a cool addition that offer a unique avenue of customization that doesn't alter the gameplay too much. The advanced movement works a lot better than Advanced Warfare, and overall the multiplayer just feels a lot more polished and, more importantly, fun than the dreary nature of Advanced Warfare. Black Ops 3 also possesses possibly the best version of the Zombies game mode ever seen. Now, as I've said before, I more so fall into the bracket of preferring the more simplistic Zombies modes, primarily Black Ops 1. However, there's no denying the sheer amount of content there is in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Maps now possess more intricate designs, including complex Easter eggs that feed into the Zombies lore. The new layer of customization with Gobblegums is a big addition, although some may complain they add a field of monetization to the mode, even though you have to buy half these maps anyway. And overall, the look and feel of this mode is a huge step up, and clearly shows what the 8th gen of consoles could offer over their predecessors, unless you played this mode on the 360. Of course, the maps were DLC, that's nothing new, but we also saw the release of Zombies Chronicles, a remaster of 8 maps from previous zombie games, now overhauled in much more detail. Zombies in Black Ops 3 was truly something else, and was when the Zombies community as a whole truly peaked. Black Ops 3, you did pretty well. Finally, we have Infinite Warfare. Often seen as one of the worst Call of Duties, was released on November 4th of 2016 alongside Modern Warfare Remastered in a combo pack, which is a very important detail. You see, Modern Warfare Remastered was largely the only reason Infinite Warfare actually sold, seen as the game was universally hated upon its reveal, and thus Modern Warfare Remastered took the majority of the COD player base for the 2017 COD year, which means Infinite Warfare is quite under-remembered by many, me included. Now, the campaign for Infinite Warfare is actually one of the best campaigns in COD history, in my opinion. The story is pretty solid, pitting your character, Lieutenant Nick Reyes, and the UNSA against the SDF, a breakaway colony formed on Mars, who declare war on Earth because, well, they wanted independence, of course. The game is largely set in space, with this being blended into the combat too through anti-gravity and advanced movement being paired up to create a pretty unique gameplay experience. We also have all the advanced tech that comes with this, such as seeker drones, and of course Ethan, or E3N, who is easily the best character in this campaign. The campaign is probably the most expansive of any Call of Duty game, with various strike missions and ship missions also implemented into the gameplay, allowing you more choice as the player to decide where your ship, Retribution, goes and conducts its operations. Here's the thing about this campaign, it almost doesn't feel like Call of Duty. Now, don't take that as me saying this is a bad thing, by the way, it's actually almost a good thing. However, it feels as if this game is more comparable to something like Titanfall with its setting and appearance, which is probably why so many Call of Duty players hated this game, because duh, it's not simple shooty gameplay. This also translates over to this game's multiplayer. Although it does largely feel like Black Ops 3 in space, this multiplayer also has enough of its own feel to the point that once again, it doesn't really feel like COD. Time to kill is a lot slower, spawns are all over the place. This game basically feels like if you took these 2 games multiplayers and merged them together. It's pretty bad. Not terribly so, but it feels incredibly watered down with a mediocre roster of weapons, colourful yet somehow bland maps, and once again loot boxes that give you OP weapons, such as the MV4 Ultimate Super Duper Mega variant that basically makes you an unstoppable war machine. It's very half-assed, and I know it seems like I'm just being harsh here, but play this game's multiplayer for yourself and you'll see what I mean. or you won't, you might have a different perspective to me. Zombies in Spaceland is not the actual name of the mode, but seeing as most people didn't even play this game, I doubt many have played the other maps. It's okay, it's basically just a reskinned Black Ops Zombies, with a less interesting cast of characters, less interesting story, and revive system that drags on for way longer than it should. There's really not much to say here. The map is enjoyable, its design is interesting, a theme park in the 1980s, and there is a lot to do and find around the map, but I just feel as if it lacks character and ultimately replayability that Blop Zombies maps had. It's definitely worth trying out, and again, you might enjoy this more than me, but yeah, it's just a tad mediocre, like most of this game. So are these games as bad as people make them out to be? No, they aren't, but they are a very mixed bag. The way I see it is this: take any three of these games, all of which have great campaigns, multiplayers, and alternative modes. Now compare it to these three games, and the pattern is similar, except each game has two good modes, and one mode that is either meh, or just not good altogether. These games are not bad games. They aren't amazing, but they aren't bad. But for a more clear answer as to why they aren't looked at so fondly, you really need to look at the context of the time that they were released. This was an era when a new COD game had been released every year for near about a decade. People were starting to get sick of the same old stuff, but also an era when futuristic games were in fashion. So of course the COD developers thought, why not make our games futuristic? Which did work at first, but quickly began to divide the community as the second and third games were released. The reality was the COD fanbase had grown to such a size that the ability to please everyone had basically been thrown out the window. No matter what they did, someone wasn't going to be happy. Mix that in with the numerous other anti-consumer moves by Activision, such as loot boxes, really led to a lot of people harboring a lot of animosity towards these games. And with the increased competition from other shooters such as Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield, and Overwatch, many people saw an opportunity to try something new. It also didn't help that the games that followed these three were not particularly great either. The futuristic era of Call of Duty was not as bad as people remember. Sure, it was a far cry from the Call of Duty games of old, but they weren't bad games. But I suppose it was a perfect, or more accurately imperfect, turn of events that led to these games having the reputation they have currently, and truly marked the beginning of the downfall of Call of Duty. A downfall slightly healed by the release of 2019's Modern Warfare, and possibly this year's Modern Warfare 2 reboot, but I doubt the series will ever reach the popularity it once had at its peak from 2009 to 2013. Anyway guys, with that said, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.